A few years ago, y'all, I hit a wall. I mean, not literally. I mean, I got to the point where it was like I couldn't go any further. I was overwhelmed. I lacked peace. I lacked fulfillment. I wasn't fulfilled in my work. And I couldn't figure out, it was like I was just I hit a wall and I couldn't figure out how to get over it. I couldn't figure out how to get around it, how to get through it. Right? It was just a wall. And I learned a lot of things in that season, but one of the biggest things that I learned, y'all, was that I really did not truly believe God. Because, y'all, when we believe God, when you believe God, when you believe that you are who God says you are, when you really believe that you can do what God says you can do, it shifts your perspective. And now you look at the wall differently, right? Now that your belief is on another level, now you start to see ways you can get around the wall. You start to see, oh, well, I could climb over there. That looked like a good spot. I could climb here. I could go that way. Now you start to see ways you can get around the wall. You'll start to see that you are who God says you are. You can do what God says you can do. You can see that when God said in his word that you can do all things through Christ, right? Who strengthens us, that he meant that thing. But no matter what your situation, Kira, I just got divorced. I got two kids and we had to move in. Things got so bad, we had to move in with my mama. We had to move in with a friend. We had to move in with a neighbor. Let me tell you, listen to me. Woman of God, man of God, listen to me. When your belief, when your belief has shifted, when your belief has shifted, you're no longer looking with the physical eye. Now you're looking with the spiritual eye. And you can look and you can say, this situation is temporary. This situation is temporary. Listen to what I'm telling you. This situation, you may be divorced. You may have two kids. You may have moved back in with your mama or your friend or whoever. Those may be facts. Those may be facts, right? But we're not looking with the physical eye. We're looking with the spiritual eye. And this situation is temporary because what I know, let me tell you what I know. I've seen that situation. I've seen other situations. I've seen a lot of things. But what I have not seen, y'all, I wish I was live so I can tell y'all to put it in the comments. What is the word? What have I not seen? I've seen a lot of things, y'all. But what I have never seen is the righteous forsaken. I have never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. That's what I have not seen. So, yes, you may be that may be that may be a fact, right? That may be your reality right now. That may be what you're facing, but listen, that ain't your future. That is not your future. And this situation is temporary. Yeah, I know you're doing the work. You're doing the physical work, right? I know you're doing what needs to be done in the physical, right? To provide a better life for yourself and your family. I know that. But what I'm telling you is you also have to look with your spiritual eye. You have to look with your spiritual eye, with those spiritual eyeglasses, and you have to be able to look at your children and say, listen, this situation is temporary. It's temporary. It's temporary. God is moving in this situation. God is moving on our behalf. And we don't know what it is that however God wants to develop us in this season, in whatever ways God is looking for me to grow and develop in this season, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to spend this time, uh, this whole season rolling around on the floor. Yeah, I'm going to have my days, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back up and I'm going to say, this situation is temporary. This situation is temporary. I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. It's temporary. For all my men of God, your wife may be looking at you. Your children may be looking at you. You may have, you're used to being a provider. You're used to being a man of God who provides for his family, right? And all of a sudden, you got handed the pink slip. They laid you off. Or you have a job. You're going to work. You're working hard every day. You're faithful to God. You're faithful to your spouse. You're faithful to your children. You're doing the things, but you're still not in the position to do what you want to do for your wife, what you want to do for your children financially. You have to be able to look at your wife and look at your children and say, y'all, listen, I don't know what God is doing. I don't know how he's working in this situation and on our behalf, but I know he's working. I know I know what God said. And God said this situation is temporary. This season is temporary. If I continue to seek first, I know that if I continue to seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, that God said everything else should be added unto me. That's what I know. I know what God said. And this situation is temporary. We got to look with the spiritual eye. We cannot look with the physical eye. We got to look with the spiritual eye, with our spiritual eyeglasses, and say, this situation is temporary. Y'all, I knew that my belief had shifted to another level because the way I saw things, my perspective had changed. I can do whatever God is calling me to do. I really believe that. And when you get to that place where you really believe that, where you really believe that what God says is possible for you, that what God says he wants for you, that what God says he's calling you to, when you really believe it, you know your faith has shifted. You know that your belief is on another level. You know it. You don't have to wonder. You're gonna know when you get to that place. It ain't gonna happen overnight, but when you get to that place, you see things differently. And now when you hit a wall, you don't just hit the wall and you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess I'm gonna just turn around and go back the other way. No. When your belief has shifted, you hit that wall and now you see ways around the wall. All you see are ways to get over this wall. You see one way to get around it. Oh, I see another way over there I can get around the wall. You know when your belief has shifted because you see things in a completely different way. Or like I said earlier, you start to see that there really is no wall. You hit the wall and your belief shifts in such a way that you see there was never a wall. The limitation, the obstacle was perceived. I perceived this thing to be an obstacle, but it was never in my way. It was never keeping me from doing this thing that God was calling me to do. It wasn't even real. And this isn't every situation because y'all, we do have real obstacles, right? But some of the obstacles that we are perceiving as obstacles are not even real. Some of the limitations that we put on ourselves are not even real. The things that we say we can't do, the things that we say we can't learn, they're not even real. You can learn whatever you want to learn. You can do whatever God says you can do. God is so big. Y'all, I don't see any limitations. My faith has shifted. My belief is in a place where the God that I serve, I know who I am. I know what God said. I don't see any limitations. All I see are ways I need to work on myself. All I see are ways, Kira, this is what you need to do. Kira, this is an area you need to grow in. This is an area you need to develop in. This is an area you need to pray about. This is an area you need to fast about. Only thing holding me back is me. There is nothing that my husband is doing that's holding me back. There is nothing that my mother is doing that's holding me back. There is nothing that my father is doing that's holding me back. There is nothing that my children are doing that are holding me back. There's nothing. When our belief has shifted, y'all, and our faith is on another level, and we really believe God, we really believe that we are who God says we are. We really believe that we can do whatever God says we can do. We are our only limitation. You are your only limitation. Nobody is holding you back from doing whatever this thing is that God is calling you to do. Now, are there real walls and real mountains and real obstacles that we have to overcome? Do we have to have hard conversations? Do we have to put boundaries in place and enforce boundaries. Sure, that's life. But at the end of the day, there is no one to blame for you not being in the place that God is calling you to. There is no one to blame for you not becoming the person that God has called you to become. There is no one. You are the wall. You are your only limitation. You are the only thing that's keeping you from doing this thing that God is calling you to do. And y'all, that's how I began to work my way through that season. That's how I went from being unfulfilled to lacking peace to a constant state of overwhelm. That's how I worked through that season. Is I began to see that everything, every change that needed to take place was in me. And God had given me everything that I needed. It was in me. Y'all, this is how you get over the wall. This is how you get through the wall. This is how you get around the wall, right? Say to yourself and say to God, I believe God. I make a decision today to believe God. I make a decision this morning to believe that I am who God says I am, that I can do what God says I can do, and that this situation is temporary. It's temporary. We know He working it all for our good, for our good. And God said He would supply everything. God will supply your every need. It is time, y'all, it is time to believe God. Believe that you are who God says you are. Believe that you can do whatever God says you can do. There will always be a wall. Y'all, there will always be an obstacle. There will always be a challenge. There's always going to be a wall. You got to shift your belief. You got to change the way you see the wall. You got to believe God. That's it. All right, y'all. Bye.